Hello class, we are going to move on to chapter 8.3a, which is the area of trapezoids. If you remember, a trapezoid is a polygon it's actually a quadrilateral that only has one pair of parallel sides. And as I note here, the parallel sides are what we call the bases. In this particular instance, it's the 12-foot and the 30-foot. Now, a trapezoid has two bases, so we're going to have to get used to that. We still look for the right angle symbol, like we have down here. That tells us that the perpendicular height is there and where the base is. Some of the diagrams, I should tell you, often will have a second right angle symbol up here. Not all of them. So you just have to remember that if you can find one of the right angle symbols, you follow that height straight up, and that's your other base. In this instance, I am going to substitute. I have my 1/2. B sub 1 here is going to be 12. Generally, we take the top base as B sub 1. Don't have to. Sometimes, too, the diagram will be tipped on its side, and we'll have a left and a right one. Then the left one is usually B sub 1. So we're going to also have to put in 30 for the B sub 2. And then our height here is 15. You'll note that I have reminded you that you'll need to add what is inside those parentheses first. If you recall from the order of operations, that's our first thing. Make sure that you do whatever is inside of the grouping symbols first. Some students can do that mentally, so I always tell students, all right, this next step is optional. Some students like to put it in simply because it helps them figure out what to do. It's up to you. Now again, this is optional, which is why I put it in the brackets. You don't have to write this, you can do it in your head. What most students are going to do is they're going to roll this into a calculator. They're going to add the 12 and the 30 in their head. If you cannot add what is inside the parentheses in your head, then that's what you should do first on your calculator. Put in the addition, then take it times 0.5, then take it times 15. In this instance, you will have 315 square feet. Remember, again, we're working with area, and that refers to the square units. Let's move on to example B. Now here, this one can be really confusing. There are students who think, oh, that 20.5 is an odd-looking base, that 22.5 is an even weirder-looking base. Well, the truth is, this diagram is actually tipped on its side. This is B sub 1, and this is B sub 2. If you look for these right angle symbols, they have to be sitting on your bases. They have to connect the base. Therefore, this 20.5 is the height. The height connects the bases. Look for the pair of parallel sides to be your bases. You have to be observant. And students will say, well then what on earth is that 22.5 there for? The only thing you need that for is if you're finding perimeter. In this situation, we are finding area. Again, we write our formula, B sub 1 plus B sub 2 times H. We're finding area, so we substitute. Our B1 here is going to be 18.5. Our B sub 2 is going to be 13.5. And our height is going to be 20.5. This is a good example of one in which some students will say, well, I can't add 18.5 and 13.5 in my head. Okay, then do that into the calculator first. Put in 18.5 plus 13.5 equals. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. You just put in 18.5 plus 13.5. Then you press times 0.5 and times 20.5. And in this particular instance, our area is going to be 328 centimeters squared. Okay. At this point, I would like for you to hit pause and you try example C, then start the program again, and you can see how you've done. So, students, how'd you do? Did you come up with 34.1? Now, what some students will do here is they will take this 2 and cancel here and get a 2.2, and then take 6 plus 9.5 times 2.2. Be very careful about taking half of what is ever inside the parentheses. You really shouldn't do it because you have to take half of both of them because of the distributive property that we covered much earlier this year. So I would make sure that I added first before I tried to do any reducing. Sometimes they will ask you to do a problem where they do not give you a diagram. They simply tell you what to use for B sub 1, what to use for B sub 2, and what to use for H. So at this time, please hit pause, you do the problem, and then restart so you can figure out how well you've done. Did you find out that this really isn't even a calculator problem? Because if you take 6 plus 14, you'll get 20. Divide by 2 is 10, and 10 times 6 is 60. Hopefully, you got the right answer for this particular problem. That concludes Lesson 8.3a. Please respond with the word triangles, and catch you later.